Show me you can do it.
Come on.
Come on. Come on now. Beast it. 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 Come on now. Beast it. Beast it.
Beast of the Southern Wild is a film that came out in 2013 and is directed by Ben Zeline. So Beast of the Southern Wild is a $50 patron request from Brandon Smith. Love that guy to death. He's a good friend of mine. And I was really excited when he requested this film because this is a film that I knew about since its release, which was in 2013, which is now like 8 years ago. And I only heard about this film through the Oscar season because I remember watching the Oscars back in 2013. And I just kept seeing this film come up in a lot of different categories, and I was just thinking to myself, I've never heard of this film. This film essentially kind of just came out of nowhere. And after Oscar season, it just kind of got buried again, because nobody knew about it before the Oscars. They only knew about it during the Oscars, and then after that was done, it just went deep into obscurity again. And I still don't hear anybody really talking about this film, despite the fact that most people that have seen this film really like it. So for all those reasons, I was pretty excited to finally watch this film. And now that I've watched it, I gotta say, I really enjoyed this film quite a bit. There is a lot about this film that really got me engaged in it and just really admire on a filmmaking standpoint. First of all, this film, even though it has this really down-to-earth kind of, not only aesthetic, but down-to-earth like vision and approach to it in terms of its setting and story, it actually incorporates some like fantasy elements to it that make it seem rather fictional and a little otherworldly. And I thought that was interesting because it's something that I really didn't expect going into this film. I mean, it doesn't really go, that off the deep end with it. It's pretty subtle with its kind of, with its elements of fantasy. But I think it was able to incorporate those fantasy elements pretty well in the film to where it doesn't really take you out. And you pretty much buy the atmosphere and you buy the setting regardless of it. And also the acting in this film is quite incredible. The little girl actress in this film, I believe you pronounce her name Quivanjane. She was incredible in this film. I've never heard of her before this. I've never seen her in anything else after this. But she really embodied this character incredibly well. And this is not an easy role to embody. Because the characters that are portrayed in this film are these characters that live in an area that they call the bathtub. And it's basically an area that seems like a really neglected portion of society that is clearly like impoverished. But these are people that truly live off the land and are people that are incredibly resourceful and don't sugarcoat anything because they live in an environment to where you can't afford to sugarcoat anything. You really have to raise children in a way that you believe is going to help them survive. And even though that these people, again, live in an impoverished, neglected community, that only like enriches their character because there is so much soul and so much life in these people. And I think that is really well demonstrated in this film that a lot of those that do come from poverty, they're sometimes the most character rich and the most interesting people you can meet. And I also love how these people, these characters, they're not ashamed of their lifestyle and their environmental situation. They're people that are extremely proud of who they are and how they grow up and all the skills that they've acquired. And I think that's just a really interesting character trait that, again, is also reflected in society as well. But honestly, I think my favorite aspect of this film is the aesthetic approach, the direction, and the production design. Because this film has such a rustic aesthetic and a rustic setting. And I think all of that was really realized in a really believable and meticulous way. And because the camera work in this film has this really handheld, a bit shaky type of approach to it. And I think it only works towards its advantage because it only enhances the type of natural, raw, and rustic type of feel this film is going for. And it makes this film that much interesting when you're watching it and that much more engaging and immersive. So yeah, I think the cinematography is fantastic. I think the direction is fantastic. The writing is really good as well because there are portions of this film that is narrated by the child actress. And I think all that works really well when it could have really fell flat because there's a way of speaking in this film that I can see some people taking a little bit of time getting used to. But I think it works really well for, again, really capturing this kind of environment and who these people are. It's also a pretty emotional film at times as well, and I think most of that is pretty effective. So, I mean, like, overall, this is actually a pretty damn good movie. It's a film that is kind of tragic that it's getting still, like, really overlooked because I won't really say it's underrated because I think most people who watch this film really like it, but it's definitely overshadowed because you still don't hear people talk about this movie at all. It pretty much never gets brought up in conversation. But this is a film that I think is really worth seeing, and I think a lot of people should check out, even more so that it doesn't really get any attention. So I'm going to give Beasts of the Southern Wild a soft 8 out of 10. Yeah, like I said, pretty damn good movie if you ask me. I'm definitely going to be going on the internet later and trying to find a good price for a Blu-ray because this is a film I definitely want to own in my collection. So yeah, I mean, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got to say about the film. If you really enjoyed what I had to say about it, please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.